All right. I am live. I'm live on YouTube. I'm live on Facebook, although it looks like Facebook is freezing up again. Not Facebook, but I mean TikTok. So we'll just kind of keep an eye on that, see what goes on. All right, guys, we're here to talk about the weekend of sports. Iowa Hawkeyes. Yes. Okay. So let's start out. The Minn lost after having a 7-point lead late in that game. Lost to Penn State. Was it Thursday night? I believe it was Thursday night. Okay, so they lose that game. Can you guys hear me? Okay. All right. So they lose that game, and I had predicted that they would win that one, and I think they needed to win that game to have a good shot at at least getting to the NIT. I don't think they're going to make the NCAA at this point. But Iowa comes from 20 points down against Minnesota, and finally, finally, they pull out a win. They beat Minnesota. Hang on, guys. I got to get off of this TikTok because nothing's happening. Okay. Get out of there. All right. Okay, so they finally um, get something going. Okay. And so I'll get there, Jared. I'm going to bring that up. We're going to talk about that. Okay. So the win actually is the fourth highest comeback. They said second highest comeback. It's actually tied for third or fourth, whatever you want to say. Okay. I did a little research because I kind of knew that was wrong. Last year they came from 21 down against Indiana. Okay. They came from 20 behind in 2018 against Illinois. Okay. They also came from 22 behind in 1987. I saw that game, guys. I was there. What a game that was. That was a fantastic game. Iowa just kept forcing turnovers, and especially on the inbound pass. They were just forcing turnovers left and right. Illinois really had a hard time getting the ball inbounds. Okay. All right. Okay. So they do that. Peyton PMAC have decent games, but so did Owen Freeman, who got his 8th Freshman of the Week award this year. He's been nominated already. Okay. So while we're still talking about Minnesota, let's put this up. Okay. So, Iowa closed the game in the last 11 minutes of the game on a 37-15 run. Overall, they whipped Minnesota in the second half 52-34. Amazing stat, guys. Amazing stat for a team that was 20 points down at the 16-minute mark. Okay, at 16-minute mark, they were down 20, and the comeback begins. Okay, so right now, I believe they're sitting at 6-7, 14-10. I believe right now they're looking somewhere around an 8th or a 9th seed in the Big Ten tournament. Okay. Um. So yeah, and so they're. I don't know, guys. I don't know if that means I don't. I forget about the tournament. I believe that's a first. That's a first day bye. Okay. All right. What did Iowa do to turn the game? Well, I think they started just pressing a little more, sticking their hands in there, forcing Minnesota to miss some shots. Okay. Minnesota started missing the three. You remember how hot they were in the first half from three, and this what was his name, Gonzalez? that hit 18 points in the first half on him, they came back. I mean, he went to the bench about the 15-minute mark. Okay, that helped out a lot. That took the ball out of somebody's hand who was hot. Okay, that helped a lot, and they started making their own shots. But they looked like they were working together as a team. One of the things I brought up is how many assists this team had with each other. Okay, even Freeman had a couple of assists. He actually had 4 assists. I'm going to go through these stats here in a minute on the Minnesota game. Okay, um, PMAC has been stepping it up the last few games. Okay, um, I know people are hard on him. They think he doesn't belong out there. They think he's lazy. He think he can't rebound. He thinks he can't play defense, and he can't shoot the ball. You know, he only scored 21 points, 7 to 12, 5 for 5 at the free throw line. It was his second 20-pointer of this season, 7th of his career. And he needs just 34 points to become a 1,000-point scorer. He would be the 53rd, and I think you guys already know that. Earlier this season, Tony Perkins became the 52nd at the 1,000 thing. So, okay, okay. So yeah, PMAC really stepped it up. Alrighty, let's see what's on pace to break the Carver Hall record of threes in the first half. Well, they didn't break it, thank God. Okay. Speaking of assists, wish Polio was on here to help assist. I wish he was too. Mondays are bad days for him. I just didn't want to push this out any further. Because yesterday I would have done it last night, except it was Super Bowl, and you guys weren't going to come on here. You were going to go root for the Chiefs or the 49ers last night. And by the way, 49ers, some bad play calling cost them a chance to win that game. And first of all, they left way too much time in the overtime for you know, for the Chiefs to come back. Okay. The quarterback is really too good to leave him any time. And I kept telling my wife that because we stayed home last night. And I kept saying they left too much time. This quarterback, I've seen him do it time and time again, even with less time to go down the field and score a touchdown. Did he do that? This is like, I was kind of jealous because of the way he was just making easy, simple throws out there to his receivers, and they were catching them and gaining yardage. They were there. When was the last time Iowa's offense could do that, right, guys? Okay. George Kittle probably cost a lot of people a lot of money, but they only targeted him a couple times, and one of his catches was taken off the board because of a holding call. Uh, so yeah, uh, yeah, he didn't get much, but he should have been. If he's going to throw the ball, he needs to throw it to more reliable people. But they needed to run the ball more and chew up the clock, like that last drive that they had 49ers. I know this is a Hawkeye podcast, but it came up, so let's talk about it. Okay, so the last drive, they ran the ball all the way down there until they got goal to go. Or I guess it wasn't quite goal to go yet. They could have got to like the 1 or 2 yard line and still had goal to go. Okay, so they get down there. They're on the 5 yard line or something, and all of a sudden they start passing it. What? Are you kidding me? You could have run that ball into the end zone. All right, you could have run that ball in there. And what did you do? You settled for a field goal instead of a touchdown. Yeah. And even though, all right. Okay. Looking forward to Kittle and Purdy to win one. Hopefully they will. Hopefully they will. This is the second time they played the Chiefs in the Super Bowl in the last 4 or 5 years, and this is the second time they lost to them. This one they had. They had. In talking to Jason last night, Jason was saying that this coach has he's always screwed this up with the lead in the Super Bowls. This is what his fourth Super Bowl, and he's always screws it up. screws it up when he has the lead. He should be running the ball more than he passes it, and Purdy was having trouble with the passes last night. Let's face it. He didn't look like that quarterback that we saw earlier. Okay. All right. Good. All right. They needed to go for a tutty. Don't Ferentz the game with a field goal. Honestly, if you guys could have seen me in our group chat last night, I said the first thing, like during the first half, I said, this looks like an Iowa Hawkeye game against a West Division team. That's what that game looked like there for a while. Nobody was doing any offense. And when they did get offense, they'd either fumble the ball or throw an interception. Okay, all right, let's get back to what the thing at hand. So yesterday, Peyton Stanford goes 7 for 17, 21 points, 8 boards, 4 assists, 3 steals, and it's his 620-point game of the season. Can he do any better than that, guys? When Peyton wants to turn it on, he can turn it on. All right, PMAC 21, 7 to 12. Well, I already went through his stats. You guys already know that. Owen Freeman, and like I said, he got his 8th Freshman of the Week award. Okay, 7 of 13, 17 points, 14 boards, 4 blocks, 4 assists. That's just what we expect out of Freeman. That, when he stays out of foul trouble, look what the guy can do. Okay. He had a double-double, and it's a team high 4 double-doubles this year. So, Tony Perkins has 18 points, 6 rebounds, 4 assists, 3 steals, 10 for 13 on the free throws. That's actually kind of even though he only missed 3 free throws, that's kind of an off night for him because he usually hits most of them. Okay. They're going to face Maryland on Wednesday at 7:30 Central Time. I didn't catch the channel. Oh, Cricky only 6 points and 2 rebounds. Little disappointing for a guy who was hitting 20 points regularly earlier this year. Dix, 4 points, 0 assists, 2 rebounds. Dix is a guard. He should be having more assists than that. I don't know what's going on with Dix all of a sudden, and the rest of the guys that played insignificant minutes. And I think I don't know. I got to get out the standings here and see and look at the brackets set up. But we're gonna do one soon. I'll get it all out for you guys and see what Iowa realistically could end up in the seeding. But I think right now we're looking at probably 8th or 9th. I believe that's where they're at. But there's a whole mess of teams in the 6 and 6, 7-6, 7-6, 6 and 6, 6 and 7, all right in that area. There's a whole mess of teams. Just like last year, there was a whole mess of teams, up the middle and so. But they play at Maryland right now. We've already lost to Maryland. We're playing on the road. They could lose to Maryland. And I think then they come home and play Penn State again. By the way, let me check that out here real quick. Okay. All right. Schedule for men's basketball. Okay. So we play Maryland on Valentine's Day. And if you guys want to know what channel that's on, it's on the Big Ten Network. Okay. Then we come home and play Wisconsin. Guys, if we're going to get to the 7 record, 7, I think it's 13, 7 and 13 or 17 and 14, record that I think they can get to for NIT berth, they got to beat Wisconsin at home. That's going to be a tough task. Really going to be tough. Okay. Then they go on the road to Michigan State. I think they lose that. They go on the road to Illinois. I think they lose that. They come home to Penn State. They should win this game. They shouldn't let this one slip away. On the road to Northwestern. They will probably lose it, but they're fully capable of beating Northwestern. And the last game of the season, Illinois at home. I think Illinois is just too much for them guys right now, too athletic, and they're not going to beat them either. So my 17 record is in jeopardy, guys. 17 and 14, I believe, is what I had them at. So they have to get 3 more wins somewhere. 3 more wins. You're going to have to get it at Maryland. I think they've got to upset Wisconsin at home, get Penn State. If they do those 3, that will get them to 17 wins. And then the Northwestern game, because it's in Evanston, I think we'll lose that, but they could win it. They could win it. So that's where they're at right now. All right. I want to get to. Okay. All right. Let's see what's here. Okay. All right. Would you rather see Iowa make the NCAA tournament or make it to an NIT finals? I would say if Iowa can win the games, all their games. Let's say they go undefeated, then they should make the They should make the NCAA. But I think it's going to really be tough with their net rankings and everything. No quad one wins, but they have a few chances. Wisconsin, Illinois coming up, where they can get a quad one win. Maybe would Northwestern be a quad one? I don't know. But yeah, so there would be some chances there. But personally, I think they're not going to win all those games. So I want them to play at least well enough to get into the NIT finals, and that would be cool. In Fran's second or third year, they got to the NIT finals. I mean, they lost to, I believe, Baylor, if we remember right, or was it Texas Tech or something like that? One of those teams. Okay. Okay. Wisconsin is riding a 4-game losing streak right now, 0-3 on the road in the last 4. Well, that's good news, South Bend. Thank you for that stat. I like that. That's good news. But you know what? It seems like every team that has a losing, we went into Indiana with them losing several games in a row. We were the thing with we fixed it. We fixed their losing streak. Um, Ohio State was having trouble winning on the road and stuff, and guess what? We fixed that problem too. So we have a way of making teams that are playing bad look good when we play them. Okay, so let's get to the women's game. Okay, they beat Penn State earlier, and Hannah Stokey had 47 points and stuff. We're not going to go a lot into that because we want to talk about what happened at Nebraska yesterday. Okay, what happened? Okay, Clark gets her 31 points, but she gets no points in the fourth quarter. The team only gets 10 points in the fourth quarter. Um, currently Clark is at 8 to break the record. Um, so and her 10 assists put her over the 1,000 point. I mean, 1,000 assists in her career, which makes her number 6 on the list of women's basketball players who have done it. So not many women's basketball players have done that. Iowa got outscored 27-10 in the fourth quarter. They're blaming the box and won. Okay. So if you guys saw the interviews or some of the stuff that was going on, Kate Martin said they got away from Iowa basketball. Basically, I think she used the words, they went into cruise control because they were 14 points up. She admitted it, that they've been taking the fourth quarter off lately. We saw that with Maryland, but we came back and beat Maryland after they took a temporary lead on us. After they had them 18 points. They were 18 points, and we thought we were cruising. Okay, and they came back all the way back, but we got the lead back and took control of that game back. Okay, but we also saw we lost a double-digit lead against Ohio State, and they weren't able to recover in that game too. And somebody pointed out on the Lisa Bruder show tonight. I was watching it and pointed out he was kind of mad, and he just said, "Hey, you guys aren't doing a very good job. You in your last couple of games, you've given up big leads. You can't do that and expect to win." And Lisa goes, "Okay." She goes to the guy. Actually, it was 3 games. It's 4 if you want to go back to Kansas State, because the same thing happened with Kansas State too. But and so she recognized that they have an issue in the fourth quarter. Especially when they're playing with leads, a double-digit lead, and so basically, people are blaming the record. They think that Lisa called Caitlin off, And but Caitlin's blaming the boxing one that they weren't prepared for it. They weren't making their cuts the way they needed to. Their screens enough. They weren't getting to where they needed to in time, and things like that. And so she just basically said they just didn't execute the fourth quarter. I think anybody who watched that fourth quarter, I don't think that was the case. I think that's an excuse, and it may have happened, but I don't think that was the case. I honestly think whether Bluter did it or Caitlin did that on her own, wanted to make that scoring at home, the record at home, so she backed off, even though she had 8 points to break the record, which means 7 to tie, 8 to break. She had 6 more points she could have scored before going into the zone. But if she's going to do that, she has to assist. She has to make sure that the other players that she's passing the ball to are open and in a position to score. And she said that she did that. She passed the ball to them, but her teammates just didn't make them drop. Okay. Um, so that's kind of an eye opener that in their news conference. Then I believe you guys all heard the news that in the background during and I believe that's the reason why they showed the video of the Nebraska players press conferences, because you could hear Lisa screaming back there in the background, because they wouldn't let her into the press room, but they let the players in. I have no idea why that's the case. Okay. Okay. Expecting Iowa women to get a 1 or a 2 seed, maybe a 3. Are we talking the NCAA there, Jared? It depends on what they do. They still got and they got to go on the road to Indiana. That's not going to be an easy win. I mean, even though they blew them out at home, beating Indiana at Indiana is going to be tough. They want revenge. Okay. Okay. And they want revenge, and not only that, but they're a good team. All right. I don't know how we beat them so bad last time. It just happened. All right. Those things happen once in a while, but don't think we're going to go in there and beat them again like that. And then we've got to beat Ohio State on the last game of the season. It's so important because if we don't lose to Indiana, we're going in with the 2 losses. All right, to their 1 loss. We've got to give Ohio State a second loss. I think they can beat Ohio State. I believe we're better than Ohio State, but we didn't prove it on that night by quitting. But again, quitting in the fourth quarter on the team. Okay, and so I think we can get them this time. I guess they full court press the whole time, like Tom Davis's teams used to do. And Lisa was saying tonight that Ohio State, they actually forced him to take the press off because they were beating the press so bad and getting easy buckets. So they took the press off. So they might not use the press against us because of what happened before. But they didn't lose the game. So obviously taking the press off worked. All right. And basically that too, they got other games coming up. They got Michigan coming up. We can't overlook those games, guys. They can't overlook them. Okay, we got Michigan coming up, then Indiana on the road. We come home and play Illinois and play Minnesota at Minnesota and Ohio State. So Iowa should realistically win 3 of these last 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 games. Should win 3 of these 5 games realistically. What they're seeding in the NCAA will depend what they do against Ohio State and Indiana, and will also depend how they do in the Big Ten tournament. Because if they go in, let's say they lose to Indiana, they're probably going into the Big Ten tournament as a 3 seed in the Big Ten tournament, which means that they would meet Indiana again, because Indiana would go in as a 2 seed, having 2 losses already themselves. And so they would go in as the number 2 seed, and Ohio State would remain the number 1 seed. All right. And so that would put Indiana and Iowa on the same side of the bracket, which then Iowa, let's say they lose to Indiana, then they got to beat Indiana in the final 4 of the tournament, because it would be the final 4 of the tournament, the last 4 teams standing. and so that absolutely has to happen. Okay. Caitlin's didn't use it as an excuse. She said she refused to. Um, but she was sick. You could see it. Molly's been sick the last couple games. Has tried to go a little bit, but wasn't able to do it. Lisa said that she was at practice going full boat today. Molly's feeling much better. So she was practicing hard and said she knew she was feeling better because after practice she was there still putting up shots. She was putting up her shots after practice tonight, so that's good to go. Said Caitlin played really hard in practice today, so Caitlin appears to be in good shape. And so it was a really good practice. The girls were upbeat. I think the girls are going to be focused, and I kind of feel sorry for Michigan because I think it's going to be all over for Michigan early. Okay. All right. So here's what we had. Okay, Hannah came back with after her 47 points. She came back with 15 points, 6 boards, 1 assist, 2 blocks, and 2 steals. Not bad performance for the girl. This girl's a superstar in the making. Sydney O'Falter, who started in place of Molly, um, she goes 7 points, 6 rebounds, which that's not too bad. Has 2 assists, but is 0 for blocks, 0 for steals. Kate has 20 points, 6 boards, and that she does that well. She's very. I love her out there on the floor. To me, she's like the Connor McCaffrey, but except she scores a lot. She's like the Connor McCaffrey of the men's team, if you guys remember. She's the glue. She's the leader. She keeps everybody going. Okay, but she took like herself. She took the fourth quarter off too, and so her teammates followed her lead, including Caitlin. Okay, she had 4 assists and nothing else after that. Caitlin, 31 points, but no points in the fourth quarter. 8 boards, 10 assists, 2 blocks, 4 steals. And she only had 2 turnovers, guys. Lately she had been okay. I didn't know that. Did Jason hear that Nate Stanley is in consideration for the whiskey quarterback job? I hadn't heard that. Wow. I wonder why. He's a He's a pro style quarterback, and they're going to want a quarterback that can run the spread, right? Aren't they running the spread option, power option, or something like that? I don't know. I could be wrong. Um, Gabby only 2 points. We're going to need Gabby if we're going to make a similar run. Gabby's got to start turning it on, and soon. Okay. Gabby gets 1 board, 1 assist, and 1 steal. No blocks. But that's not her job. Her job is to get steal and keep people from going on the board. Okay, Kylie Feuerbach, just 1 point, nothing else. Addison O'Grady, 4 points, two boards, which I expect more boards from her, being in her position, and she had 1 block shot. And Molly didn't get anything in her 2 minutes that she played. Interesting stat though. This Jazz Shelley, she's obviously pretty good. From what Jason's saying, I think he considers her the second best player in the league. She pretty much showed it yesterday. 23 points, 3 boards, 5 assists, 1 steal. Alexis, I can't think of what her last name is. 15 points, 11 rebounds, 4 assists, and 3 steals. Nebraska looks like they're a team that could. No, I don't want to. Okay. All right. So here we go. Okay, they want a former QB1 that could never beat them. Are you loud? Are you joking about this? Him being considered, or is this for real? Because that last comment makes me feel like it's a joke. Okay. And I forgot to answer Jared's question in the tournament. Their NCAA will seeding, I believe, will be no worse than 2. But like I said, it depends on beating Indiana and Ohio State and what they do in the tournament. I think that at worst they have to finish as runner-ups in the Big Ten tournament, but I still want to see them finish as regular season champs, and they can, and tournament champs. They can do both. If they do both, then they'll be number 1 seed. Um, Right now, they're in the 4th spot. Right now, they're in the 4th spot, Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome, South Bend. Yeah. Anywho, so yeah, right now they're sitting at number 4, so I guess if the season ended today, they'd probably be the week the last number 1 seed. Um, so I'm anxious. I mean, they're down to 5 games, I think. The men are down to 7 games, and so, it's gonna be an interesting run. Alright, now, let's talk a little bit about the wrestling meet, okay? Okay. Jared wants to ask, is any football news before we move on to wrestling? Um, I don't have any. I know they picked up a couple of recruits over the weekend, but um, that's all I got right now, and so I don't remember who they are. I think one's a linebacker and one's a tight end. Or was that last? That could have been last weekend. They picked them up. Okay, they picked up a couple of guys from junior day, so they're in the 2025 class. They got a guy walking on in the fall. His name is Mason Knipp. He's a wrestling. He's a wrestler. He's a huge guy, really huge. I went to school with his uncles. Um, 3 of his uncles, I think, were at Waterloo, Columbus at the same time I was. Um, and I'm really good friends with 2 of them. And so, but he's number 1 ranked wrestler at his weight class, which I believe is, the biggest number you can get. They don't call it heavyweight, but I believe he's at the biggest number they could have in Iowa wrestling. As you guys probably know that live in Iowa, Iowa wrestling is going on right now. In the this week in the tournament, he's ranked number 1 at his weight class. He upset the previous champ. He was the champ last year. In order to get to the champ, he had to upset or beat the champ from the previous year. And so, he's favored to win his weight, but he's walking on as a preferred walk on as a football player. Um, and so we'll see if he gets talked into doing some wrestling like Ben Keeter. Um, because I I'm hoping that we get to see Keeter play football, but I'm not convinced that he will. Okay, 125, great win for Drake Ayala. He gave that PSO opponent his first loss of the season. Drake was looking at a possible 2-3 seed at the Big Ten tournament. His best win so far. I would say that's definitely his best win so far because wasn't that guy ranked number 2? Yeah, I think at 125. Um, so yeah, he beat him 4-2, and yeah, that's a great win for Drake. I mean, we known all year. I mean, we all known all year that he's not a Spencer Lee, but he has the potential to do some big things for Iowa. Okay. Uh, okay. I love animals. Says you went to school with his uncles. Yes, I did. Okay. There, I got her question up there. In case you guys don't know, I love animals is one of my granddaughters. Okay. Um, Iowa will struggle at the Big Ten tournament. Um, we'll talk about that too. 141. Real Woods is looking at a 2-3 seed in the big tournament. He must be more aggressive. I think all those wrestlers got to be more aggressive. Jared, I know that when you and I were watching the meets because we kind of watch them together through the internet, and we both posting our takes on them most of the time. Except I didn't do that this week because I had other things going on, and I got in late into the wrestling match. But the thing that I think is crazy is um, that for most of the season, the Iowa wrestlers have not been aggressive. They've not gone after their guys in attack. And then there was 2 matches, I believe it was against Nebraska and against Minnesota, where they attacked pretty heavy. They were pretty aggressive. They were attacking. They were scoring points. They were getting bonus points. And then Michigan came to town. They quit again. It's like they were wrestling not to lose. and you know what happens when that happens. Just like Iowa women in the fourth quarter yesterday were playing not to lose that game instead of to win it. You lose games when you play not to lose. And that's the Iowa football team. That happens too. Okay, Real Woods is looking at 2, 3. Say, yeah. It's just shame that that he was number one seeded all year and he lost it, and then he lost it to um the new number one person. I'm assuming that since Real Woods went from 1 to 2, that the guy he wrestled was newly minted the number one. And they all got to be more aggressive, not just Real Woods. Okay, I plan on doing one more duel take with the Iowa versus Oklahoma State duel if it's on the big network. Is it at Oklahoma State or in Iowa City? If it's in Iowa City, it'll be on the big network. Um, okay, Iowa wins at 149. After that it was all downhill. Yeah. Who was it that won? I got it right here. Never mind. Caleb Rathjen. How do you say his name? But anyway, yeah, I didn't expect that. That's a mild upset, but one was ranked 12th and the other one was ranked 10th. So yeah, they're about even. Okay. So that could have gone either way. I think the surprise loss. Well, I mean, Jared Frankie against Levi Haynes, number 2, number 5, Jared Frankie. I think there for a while. I thought Jared was not ranked high enough for the kind of season he was having, but apparently I know why now that the experts had him ranked number 5. Uh, okay, um, so Jared Frank, he lost 11-0 at the 157 pound. Number 6, Michael Caliendo loses to number 7, Mitchell Missenbrink at 165. Michael Caliendo, I think, was the only one that was seated higher than his opponent. Everything else, everybody else on the Iowa team was seated higher than the Iowa opponent. Does Iowa still hold that record? Okay. Patrick Kennedy lost to number 1 Carter Strocky by a major decision. Okay. I'm gonna give Patrick Kennedy a pass on that one. He wrestled number 1, but Patrick has only been wrestling at this weight for a little while, and so he doesn't have a lot of matches under that one. Aiden Riggins loses to number 6, Bernie Truax. This one, I think Aiden Riggins is the only one not ranked at any. Oh well, Ben Keeter's not ranked either, but he's only had 3 matches on his career so far. And so, but Adrian, not. I mean, is there anybody else at that weight class that could play? Jared, do you think there's anybody else that could have at that weight besides Aiden Riggins? Okay. Um, Number 11, Zach Glacier loses to number 1, Aaron Brody. This Zach Glacier is another one I think um, yeah, is another one who I think is not ranked as high as he could be. Um, but that's just to say that. And Ben Keeter loses for the first time this year to number 1 Greg. I can't even say that Greg somebody. 2-1 so he's 2-1 on the season now. Um, so and I think I think all Americans on this team will probably be Drake, Will Woods. I think Kalen Draftkin can get up to number 8 to be an All American. Jared Frankie, Michael Caliendo, Patrick Kennedy, Zach can get there. Glacier can get there. Again, he'd have to, he got to be at least number 8 to be All American. So I know Zach can get there. I feel comfortable. I don't know what they're going to do if it's going to be Hill or Ben Keeter when it comes to the Big Ten tournament and the NCAA's. I don't know how they would do that. Honestly, I honestly think if they use Keeter, he could get All American status too in his first year. Okay, all right, yeah, and they've got a lot of people waiting in the wings, and got some good people coming. So Jared says even if we had Nelson Brand, Tony Cassialpi. By the way, his sister Russell's on the women's team. Abe Assad, and the score would have been similar. So what you're saying is these guys probably all would have lost, right? Okay, Zach, you're saying Zach did well against the number one ranked guy. Hawk fans don't get stressed. The future looks good for wrestling after this season. Yeah, I think we're just in one of those years, thanks to um, the gambling issues, because all those guys that we mentioned were all gambling people. Were all people that were caught gambling and was suspended for a year. But I think they can all come back next year if they have a year left. I think the punishment was sit out a year and lose a year of eligibility, right? So if they all have another year of eligibility, I think they can all come back and wrestle next year if they want to. That would make Iowa even stronger. Um, yeah, this Gabe Arnold is going to be something else. In the couple matches I've seen him wrestle, that guy is a total animal. I mean, he's strong. And if you look at the muscles on him, he's a freshman right now, but he looks so much like a man. Okay. All right. Ben Keeter at heavyweight too. Yeah. Um, Greg Arnold coming. Drake Ayala is a sophomore because he'll be back next year. Ben Keeter will be back at heavyweight next year. Probably will win the spot unless Cassiope actually comes back. So the gambling issue and the COVID athletes will be gone. Yeah. Yeah, there's no more COVID athletes after. I think this is the last year to use the COVID athletes, that to stay. Um, yeah, that's what I'm trying to think. I don't know where those three are right now. But Tom Brands did say in an interview in the post conference game match that we haven't seen the last of those guys yet, unless he means that they're training for the Olympics. Um, so, but yeah, and see, let me look at the rest of the wrestling schedule ahead. As it's already been pointed out, we already know that Oklahoma State's coming up. Okay. Oklahoma State on February 25th. It's on the FS1 network, so we get to see it. Okay. So we only have two more duels. Wisconsin at home on the 18th, Oklahoma State in Stillwater on the 25th. Okay. And then March 9th is the Big Ten Championship. So March 9th, March 10th, and March 21st, they get almost 2 weeks off, about 10 days off before the NCAA championships start. Wow, they took a lot of time off. They don't do it the following weekend. Okay, so right now their record is overall 10-2 and 5-2 in conference. When's the last time Iowa lost two dual meets in the same season? Okay, okay, okay. And he thinks there's senior night against Wisconsin. Yeah, that should be good. I didn't check to see who's going to televise that, but if it's at home, it'll probably be the Big Ten Network. Okay, Iowa could struggle placing in the top three at nationals. Um, yeah. I I could see that. There's some pretty solid teams. I think it just depends on, of course, it just plans on that these guys if they don't get upset along the way, like Spencer Lee did last year, or a couple of others that usually, get beat early in the earlier rounds when they shouldn't. And then they don't do as well in the wrestlebacks. Whereas I think some they call it the blood round. I think they call it the blood round. I call it wrestlebacks. I believe the wrestlers call it the blood round. Yeah, and that's what I'm trying to say there, Jared, is that it all depends on the individual performances, and so these guys have got to come out hungry, but they got to get more aggressive. They can't come out with the style that they showed against Michigan or the style they showed against Penn State and expect to win. Tom Brands was kind of saying the same thing. But Brands, these are your guys. If they're not going to wrestle the way you want them, then put somebody out there that will wrestle the way you want. They might not win, but they'll at least wrestle the way you want them to wrestle. And show these guys just because you won the spot in the practice room doesn't necessarily mean you're going to keep it if you don't wrestle the way you should. You know, take a look at what Penn State did. Take a look at how aggressive they were, scoring bonus points after bonus points, and just see how they did. They did so well, and I believe they got one pin on one of our guys. I think. Um, Another one is Michigan was pretty aggressive. You can't go out there and get a takedown and then flex to play defense the rest of the day and try to get riding time because that you got to do more than just get a takedown. I can remember. I can't remember which person it was. It might have been Barry Stevens. Does that sound right? Um, he loved to build points up. He would do a takedown, let his guy up, give him 1 point, do another takedown, let his guy up, do another takedown, let his guy up. He just kept doing that until he just had so many points on him. Okay. Michigan lost to Nebraska, and we beat Nebraska. Nebraska, was that close? I can't remember. I think it was close. But I think it was close, but we wrestled aggressively. If we had wrestled Michigan style, like we did against Michigan or Penn State, we could have easily lost that. Okay. Let's see. No, I just wrestling. I don't know how much you guys are interested in softball, but here's the deal: the women are 3-2 to start the softball season. Okay, and they lost to a ranked Utah team, and I can't remember who the other team was, but they came out. They're showing some good stuff. I'm going to get some more information on them, like who the batters are and everything. I just saw what their record was. Um, so I'm going to get some more like their names and stuff, what they did. Here, let me bring that up right now while I can. I'm right there, so why not? Let's talk. We got a few minutes to talk softball. Baseball is starting, I believe, sometime this week. And they're going to be traveling on the road too. I keep going to the roster instead of the. All right. Okay. So Iowa fell to number 13, Utah. All right. Okay. Iowa had 26 at bats compared to Utah's 25. We lost that 3-1. 3-1. We had one run. They had three. 4 hits. They had 9. We had no RBIs. They had 3. We had no base on balls. They had 2. Um, Left on base, we left 5. They left 7. They named Sue Jinberry was named to the FSCA Leadoff Classic All Tournament team after collecting hits in 4 out of 5 games. Let's go back through here. Okay. Some of the players, there was a sophomore named Anna Streff that played. Junior Riley Moss, I remember her from last year. I don't remember Anna Streff. So freshman Barry is now hitting 438. Young is hitting 364 for leading the team after the opening weekends. 7 Hawks started all 5 games, with 4 of them hitting over 300 on the weekend. The pitching staff finished the weekend with a 1.35 ERA, and while going for the weekend. Okay, up next they will return to action on Friday at the spring games in Leesburg, Florida. Iowa will face Southern Illinois and Liberty on Friday with action beginning at 1:30. Games will be streamed on the Flow Softball. You need a subscription for that. Okay. Let's get back to some of this stuff. So it sounds like the freshmen are doing really, really well. Um, and so I need to go back up here. Okay, hang on. Yeah. Okay. So I wanted to tell you guys what positions they're all playing, but I don't have that right now. Um, I thought we could get that. So yeah. All right. So that's all I got for softball right now. Baseball, I will figure out what's going on. Okay. I think the team is fragile. All righty. Okay, so that's about all I've got right now. You guys got any other questions or comments you want to throw my way? I will be happy to answer them. All right. Sounds good. Those guys, don't forget to like it if you haven't already. Do like this thing. People watching this later on, please subscribe, like, leave a comment. Um, what you think about this podcast. But please subscribe. Subscriptions are coming slowly, and I'll admit I don't know what to do to get this more lively, more fun, friendly, get more people involved. You know. Okay. Okay. Looking forward to the next one. Probably sometime later this week. Um. So I still gotta do a complete softball and baseball show. That's important. I want to get that going, and so that will be coming soon. So we'll get that taken care of. I don't want to leave those out because this is called Talking Iowa Hawkeye Sports. And that's most podcasts only talk about football and basketball. Some only consider football and take the rest of the year off. So I just want you to know that while our main focus on here is football, basketball, and wrestling, we do try to cover the other sports as much as possible. I know we've covered soccer and softball, baseball last year. I inadvertently left volleyball out. I want to start covering volleyball when next fall when it goes back up. We didn't talk much about the field hockey team, um, things like that, and there's just so much going on. And I don't know if anybody knew this, but the men have a hockey team. It's not NCAA. They belong in another league, another thing. So they're not playing against the regular people, and I believe they won the national championship last year. I don't know how they're doing this year. If the season's even still going on, it might even be over. I'll have to look that up. But yeah, I don't think even when you look up in their men's team, I don't think the hockey team even shows up because it's considered a club team. Anyway, guys, I'm going to get out of here, and I appreciate you watching and share this with your friends, please. That is after you subscribe. Subscribe and like first, and then share it. All right. Have a great day, guys. Have a good night. Hopefully, we're talking about some wins next week by everybody. All right. Take care.